Good afternoon to you. Mark out of HurricaneTrack.com here. It is November 3rd, 2021. Happy Wednesday afternoon to you. Time for the hurricane outlook and discussion. We have a few things to talk about today. Wanda way up in the North Atlantic at about 40 north, 40 west. We'll discuss that, and I'll show you why I think there's at least a small chance that it becomes a hurricane. Yes, believe it or not, it could do that. And we have a couple of areas of interest in the southeastern Pacific. And then maybe in lower 48 weather news, a coastal storm. Maybe. We'll see about that. Otherwise, it's pretty quiet, like it has been through most of October, all of October really, for the Atlantic Basin until we got to Wanda. Everything's pretty quiet on this nice Wednesday afternoon. So let's take a look, starting off on our tour today. TropicalTidbits.com, the satellite animation here. There is Wanda, way up there. There's 40 north by about 40 west. So it's pretty close to that mark. And there is some deep convection. It's not real deep. And when I say deep, I mean that it extends high into the atmosphere. Some of those temperatures there are 50, 55 below 0 Celsius. So minus 50 Celsius. Cloud tops is another way to say it. And we'll take a close-up look at this in a minute via a visible satellite shot from Weather Nerds in just a moment. Elsewhere, the Atlantic and Caribbean are nice and clear. Gulf of Mexico the same. Pretty much everything now dominated by strong westerly winds cutting across pretty much everywhere. It's all but over. Technically speaking, we still have a few weeks left, but for all intents and purposes, with the exception of a sort of rogue system that develops somewhere in this vicinity, which you just never know. I mean, look, we have Wanda, and that was kind of an anomaly forming off of an old system that developed from baroclinic processes. These are just meteorological terms I'm throwing at you, but you never know. We could get a couple more name storms. But beyond that, the bulk of the hurricane season is, in fact, behind us. You already knew that, though, because you pay attention to this stuff every day, don't you? So we'll watch and see what this area does. It's in the eastern Pacific. There's another one over here. These are the regions that we are watching. Even in November, it's kind of odd. And we'll get to that more in just a moment. First, Wanda. Again, pretty deep convection considering that this is 40 north latitude by 40 west longitude. That's getting it. That's pretty far to the north over the Atlantic. So how is it able to do that? With marginal sea surface temperatures at best, certainly not much upper ocean heat content. Well, I think the easiest way to understand it is the very cold air above Wanda in the upper levels is actually colder than normal. And so, if you know basic meteorology, instability, you have to be able to lift the air into the atmosphere, and if everything is equal and all one temperature, you don't really have an impetus to do that. And so that very cold air aloft allows for less instability to be present to get thunderstorms. It's easier to create thunderstorms the more and colder the air is above a system like Wanda. So it's pushing up that convection, and it's just easier to do so because of the anomalously cold air in the upper part of the atmosphere. And so it doesn't take as much. It doesn't have to try as hard because of the rest of the conditions. It's kind of like it bends the rules a little bit. And there you go. There's the tropical storm. It's clearly a tropical storm. You've got the lowest pressure right here in the middle. The thunderstorms are grouped around it instead of all spread out over a large area. There's no fronts associated with it to speak of. It's just in its own little oasis where things are just right so that it's a classical looking tropical storm, even though structurally it's just a little bit different in terms of how it got there. Doesn't matter. It meets the criteria, and it's Tropical Storm Wanda. And here it is on the map from the National Hurricane Center site anyway. From 3 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time, it was 50 mile per hour with the wind speeds, 992 on the pressure. And I'll show you the track map of it in just a moment from the HurricaneTrack Insider site. But first, again, Eastern Pacific is where the action is. And I want to call your attention to this feature right here. It's at the same longitude. There's 90 west right there, and the longitude line goes right up here, eventually going into New Orleans. And this is just a little bit east of there, practically the Mississippi-Alabama border. So the only thing that's different is this landmass that we call Central America and Southeast Mexico. If these weren't there, or if this was just a little bit farther to the north up here, we would all be talking about it. Oh, look, another system in the Western Caribbean or whatever. Geographically speaking, it is not that far removed from this part of the Atlantic basin. I just find that to be worth mentioning. Now, this other system it's definitely well removed from the Atlantic basin, geographically, oceanographically, whatever, meteorologically, yes. But I just find this curious. It's not that, honestly, from here just to here, if that X was right there and it was going to be moving this way, again, there would be a lot more attention focused on it. As it is, however, I don't want to discount that it will have impacts down here. There are shipping interests out there, certainly. And, these are two systems that are creating some inclement weather, and the potential for both of them to eventually maybe become tropical cyclones. So we're going to want to watch those over the next few days. So first, let's take a look before we look at the GFS and some other stuff for this afternoon. Here's the track of Wanda. Why do I think it might become a hurricane? Well, it's doing pretty well now. It's going to move north a little bit and then dip back south, and it'll get into water just a little bit warmer by doing so, and then it'll eventually get kicked off to the northeast, and it will become extratropical or post-tropical, etc. And here's the other reason I think that it has a shot at becoming a hurricane. There's 40 north and 40 west right there in the crosshairs. Wanda located pretty much right in there. The anomalies up here, the temperature anomalies, the departures from the average are positive. They're warmer. The water temperatures are warmer than normal, and that's just enough energy combined with that colder than normal air sitting above it in the upper atmosphere that Wanda is able to take advantage of that. So if it moves just a little bit south, maybe it gets into just slightly warmer, and that's all it takes is just a little bit of a bump in energy in the upper ocean heat, and bingo, it can organize enough so that this satellite picture looks a little bit more robust as it goes up and then comes back south before it turns again. Somewhere over here, it might have a shot. It develops an eye. That's a big clue. If it develops an eye, a ring of somewhat deep convection. Again, that's relative. When we talk deep convection, again, we're talking about how high those thunderstorms are in the atmosphere. This doesn't have a lot of energy to create really tall thunderstorms, but just enough that if they wrap around a calm center, you can get enough energy there that it could be classified as a hurricane. You never know. It might do it. It's overachieved to this point, and other than shipping interest, it's not bothering anybody, so why not? All right? That's my take on it. We all have our opinions. So let's move along and see what's happening on the GFS. This is the 12Z run from today. There's Wanda sitting out there, a small cyclone overall. Be that as it may, it is there, and it's kind of bumped up against this area of high pressure here, so that's why it's just kind of milling around out there. No areas of vorticity seen trying to concentrate in the Caribbean. There's the one area in the southeastern Pacific, and other than that, things are generally nice and quiet. So let's move this out into time. 24 hours, Wanda kind of hanging on there, looking pretty solid in the vorticity shot there. 48 hours out, it moves south. Might be a hurricane here, who knows, we'll see. In the East Pac, though, draw your attention to these two systems. I think one of them, maybe both, do try to develop. Again, they're just in that area, just a few hundred miles displaced from where it was last year, the area of favorability. And it's in the Pacific. It's just kind of the way it goes. One or more of those tries to develop by day 5. We'll just have to wait and see how things evolve. Also, let me back it up. There's this coastal storm that gets its origins in the Gulf of Mexico, where water temperatures are still pretty warm and warmer than average on the whole. That feature slides across Florida, develops a coastal low. The GFS shows it comfortably and kind of spread out, whatever, off the coast, never really congeals. And just to kind of compare things, let's go to the 72-hour mark and compare this to the Euro, a great feature of tropical tidbits. And you can see it's a little bit farther south and west on the Euro, so a little slower. Definitely a little bit more concentrated on the Euro. All these height lines in here show me. Actually, these are surface. That's a surface map. I need to just pay closer attention. See, MSLP, that's mean sea level pressure, and that is represented by these lines, which we call isobars. And those isobars all tight together like that, that's what we call a pressure gradient that's fairly tight. You got high pressure up here, see it, 1024, low pressure down here, sub probably 1,004 millibars, something like that. The difference between the two, you get this squeeze play, so maybe some brisk onshore flow for the Virginia Capes, parts of the Delmarva, maybe the North Carolina Outer Banks. This is 4 days out, Saturday night into Sunday. It really cranks up there in the Euro. Lots of isobars packed in there by 5 days. This is Sunday night into Monday. And then it's really cranking even more offshore. All the maritime interest out there. This is going to be a big storm, but not close enough, not enough cold air for it to be one of those big wintertime bomb cyclones. And that's 6 days out. That's far enough to show. But yeah, we're going to want to watch that as it evolves. You see the energy comes together there in the Gulf. Non-tropical, though. And when I say non-tropical, I mean it doesn't have the structure of a tropical cyclone. It's getting its energy, some of it from the ocean, but most of it's from temperature differences in the atmosphere instead of the release of latent heat to develop thunderstorms. It's a whole meteorological thing. But the warm water does play a role, no doubt. And this is taking advantage of that warm Gulf. Moves across Florida. Not a big severe weather threat, but certainly rainy and windy and stormy in the offshore waters of the east coast of the United States. So we're going to want to watch that as we move through the next few days. We'll talk about it some more tomorrow. Hey, look, I put this online. It's already there. Some of you have already been notified about it. Take a look. It's over an hour long, so that's, kind of a long burn. And it's me just giving sort of a State of the Union. Here's what we did in 2021. Here's what I want to do in 2022. And here's how people can be involved. It's our patron meeting that I held the other night over Zoom. I recorded it, of course, kind of amended it, put it together, a little title at the front, title at the end, whatever. Put it on YouTube for all because I want to show you. I want to show you what we're doing. And there's a couple of really neat projects in there. I don't want to spoil anything, so you're going to have to watch it. It is on YouTube. It's publicly available. Check it out when you get a chance and see what we're going to be up to for next year. Maybe you want to get involved. You can jump in anytime through Patreon and support what we're doing. It's remarkable. Every day I think, how lucky I am to get to do exactly what I want to do with fine people out there supporting it from all over the world. YouTube, that's been a remarkable growth aspect over the last several years, really since 2017, with the advent of how easy it has been to stream live on YouTube while mobile. That's really helped a lot. And it's grown this whole project. I'm very proud of it. And it's great to have you guys along as being a part of it. I really mean that. It's super duper awesome. So check it out. It's on YouTube. It's the Patreon or patron meeting. And, let me know what you think. My email, I think I talk about my email in there. I don't know. It's easy to email me. Or, just look me up on Twitter. Hit me up there. A YouTube comment, whatever. Love to hear from you. And we'll be ready for next year. That is for sure. But it's not next year yet. We're still in 2021. We got a lot to talk about, a lot to do. And we will be on top of it, whether it's hurricanes or other high-impact weather. It's good to be here doing what I do, and I'm glad you're on your side of the screen, watching and listening. All right, that's it for me. Have a great rest of your Wednesday, as always. Like I said, thanks for tuning in. I am Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com. I'll talk to you again some more tomorrow.